Special event, September 10th, Hollywood. Come see me at the Melrose Improv. Lot of special guests coming by. September 10th, Melrose Improv. That's in Hollywood, California. If you're in L.A., Inland Empire, Valencia, you got to come on down. September 10th, tickets are only $20. Melrose Improv. Phoenix, come see me September 19th, September 20th at Stand Up Live. Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, I don't care if you got to drive up from Tucson. Make the drive, y'all. Phoenix, Arizona, September 19th, September 20th. I love you guys. All my shows are meet and greet. We'll be selling T-shirts, shaking hands, taking photos. You want it, you got it. I got your back. So, September 10th in Los Angeles, California at the Melrose Improv. September 19th, September 20th, Phoenix, Arizona at Stand Up Live. You can check my Twitter feed for details, or you can just Google search J. Mohr Comedy. I'm sure those dates will come up in this age of information. I can't wait to see you guys out there.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game tape.
Donuts.
If you want a battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man!
Paul Provenza, ladies and gentlemen, on More Stories. Long overdue, bro.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
I'm glad to be remembered, Jay.
We talked a bit on the phone, you and I, Paul Provenza, host of the Set List Show on the Nerdist channel on youtube.com/Nerdist, the Set List Show. Here's the thing. Everything you put your mind to do is something I'm jealous of and go, a Set List Show? The Aristocrats? And I'm probably one of the only comics that just completely missed the boat. You asked me to do the Aristocrats like first.
You were up there. You were one of the first.
I was
true.
I was in the first rung of dudes.
I know, but it's a bad idea when you first hear it.
I kept saying, I just don't understand. And you kept saying, do you know the joke? And I go, yeah. And you go, well, you just tell the joke. And I go, but I don't understand. You're going to make a movie of me telling the joke? You said, no, I'm going to make a movie of everyone telling the joke. And I said, but the same joke. And it was something so highbrow about a joke so lowbrow that it was maybe inexplicable in a pitch.
Well, that's the problem with everything I do, is that it really is not stuff you can pitch, because it's some sort of, I have an idea, and that's kind of what I'm really proud of the Aristocrats, is that if nothing else, it's unique. And it is definitely something that whenever anybody who's seen it was trying to explain it to somebody else, they always have to go, you just have to see it. And to me, that says something. That you just have to see it. You can't really explain it.
I saw it in the theaters at Sunset Lemley, and it was full, and you would have thought you were at a comedy show. Like, the way people were like, you know, people laugh in theaters much differently than they do in comedy clubs.
That is
obviously.
very true.
But in a theater at the Aristocrats, Step Brothers, Aristocrats, What About Bob are the three movies where people were like pitching themselves forward like in a comedy club. Like, I can't get my shit together. Like, people standing up like, let me just walk up the aisle and come back. And
it was a pretty interesting response all around. It was very trippy because it's something when you're making a film, when you're cutting a film, it's like you don't have the immediate feedback. So it's really tricky to try and tell the timing, and it's one of the, what we do as stand-ups is immediate response, and when you're trying to do that kind of comedy, that has that kind of visceral reaction, it's really hard to do it in the abstract like that. People will see this and they'll respond this way. It's really tricky.
Who edited the Aristocrats?
Emery.
From Ardent Atheist podcast.
From Ardent Atheist, yeah.
I didn't know he was an editor.
Yeah, he actually.
That's maybe a great thing that you had a comic editing.
That's exactly what I set out to do when I found Emery. I'd heard about Emery, and I knew people who knew him in the comedy world, but I didn't really know him. And when I finally met him, and we talked for like 10, 15 minutes, I was like, this is what I'm really looking for a comic to cut this with, because it's not, I mean, it's way easier to cut a narrative. It's way easier to cut something scripted. But to kind of make this comedy work, and to then figure out how you build a narrative out of this 100 different people telling a joke.
Yeah, it's 100 people telling one joke 100 different ways.
It was really, really, I just felt like I didn't want to do it with an editor who was skilled at editing narrative or documentary. I needed a comic, you know? And so Emery was like just lightning in a bottle that I found him, you know, that we ended up connecting on it, because I don't know another editor who has more of a background in comedy than they do even in editing at that point, you know.
In the future, this is what I think would behoove you.
Yeah.
Jay, it's Paul. I can't really explain it. I just know it's not going to get you in any trouble, and I need you to do this for me.
Well, that's actually how we did explain it to a lot of people. We
not
said,
to
look,
me. We kept going around and around. It's a joke, you know, and you kept circling back around. You know the joke. I'm like, yeah, you're making an entire movie about a joke, and you're like, and then I saw the movie, and only time in my life, that flash jealousy of like, I can't believe I'm not in this. However, ultimate compliment I can pay to you, I realized at that exact moment, I could not have possibly have made this better. This is perfect. Like Gilbert Gottfried, Martin Mull was so goddamn funny.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many different people with so many different styles and approaches and different conversations around it that you know, I tell people, look, if there's a patch that you're not really enjoying, just wait 4 minutes. There'll be something else.
Yeah, a lot of characters. Go to jmohr.com, click the Amazon banner, my friends, and buy things, and I will make you famous to you and all your friends by reading your email to jmohr.com on this podcast. Hi, JJ. Just wanted to let you know, after listening to the Keaton Simons podcast, I clicked the link, downloaded Beautiful Pain from Amazon. Not only did he win over the wife and I with his talent, but we're hoping if he becomes huge, he might once and for all kill the Simons-Simmons confusion. Keep up the great work, Richard and Melissa Simons. Keaton Simons was pretty great. See, it's super simple here, Paul. People go to jmohr.com. They click the Amazon. If you're going to go to Amazon anyway,
why not do it through jmohr.com?
Well, these mics don't pay for themselves. This pussy's not going to eat itself, Paul Provenza.
This crack and whores doesn't come free.
Crack and whores are very expensive.
People have no idea that you put out a nice spread here.
It is nice, but here's the thing. The crack always costs the same. Whores, for some reason, there's like this weird scale like, oh, that's $200, but anything else you got to tip extra. You're just paying me for companionship. And you're like, no, I'm not. Paul Provenza, the contract writer, is nuts.
Did you ever hear Stanhope's bit about being a whore in this new economy?
No. In this economy?
Oh, you got to use the back pussy in this economy. It's just a great piece.
The back pussy. I like that. One more, and then we'll continue. Times is tough. I'm going to read this as that lady.
Okay. Go.
Jesse Glucksman writes Jmohr at jmohr.com. Click the Amazon banner. I just bought from Amazon via the link at jmohr.com a couple superheroes for kids books to indoctrinate a love of comics to my 3-year-old twin daughters early, and a garage door clicker for my wife so she can finally park in our condo garage. Long story short, too late. We have tandem parking, but she'd always make me move the cars. This is way too fucking long an email. Just tell me what you bought. You're from Verona. I'm from Maplewood. All right, that's cool. I'm from New Jersey. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for what you do. More stories. Love the podcast. Duff McKagan, David Lee Roth, Steve Lillywhite, Wayne Kramer. These were fascinating chats. Love it, buddy. Keep it up. Jesse. That's Jesse Glucksman in New Jersey. Thank you, Jesse Glucksman in New Jersey.
I like that Jesse Glucksman character.
Jesse Glucksman, garage door clickers. We tandem park in the garages.
You tandem park in my back pussy.
In my back pussy. That was a droopy dog being a prostitute?
In this economy, you gotta use your back pussy. Sometimes let them tuck it under the ear.
That doesn't get enough attention.
Oh, I'm bringing it back.
That's a good one.
Let them tuck it under the ear. Yeah. Scratch my belly.
Andrew Dice Droopy Dog.
You know what? You're a big-titted animal. A goosh. You ever get soap under your balls? Soap under my balls. A goosh.
Paul Provenza, you were my first headliner.
I know you told me that. I can't believe that.
But the listeners don't know this. I'm a 17-and-a-half-year-old kid. Louis Ferranda from Catch a Rising Star in New York goes, "Hey, kid, you're great. You know what? You should play Princeton Catch."
Wow, that's scary good.
And I go down to Catch a Rising Star in Princeton. They gave me a hotel room. La-di-da. 17-year-old kid, hotel room. Room service, sign into the room. I go down. You were the headliner. I don't remember who the middle act was. I emceed. I invited my whole family. You were so nice. And you were so nice the whole time. And I was having this conversation with Rick Overton today on the telephone. So few comics, start to finish, are nice.
Well, you know,
you're just nice. And that's like beyond commendable. You're hilarious. You got a great mind. You're a good friend. You keep great company. You go all over the place making people laugh, but you're always fucking nice. And so few of I can't say it. I'm a dick sometimes. So few people can just go, this guy start to finish was one of the nicest fucking guys. What was the end of Mr. Saturday Night?
I don't like conflict with anybody but the audience.
What did David Paymer say at the end of Mr. Saturday Night?
I don't know.
You could have been a little nicer.
You could have been a little nicer.
Not you.
It's true. Well, you know, we spend so much time on the road. You know, especially back then. When was that? That was, I mean, I probably
1988.
Okay, so I'd been doing it already for almost 10 years. So I'd spent a lot of time on the road, and you just got you.
But that makes guys angry. Not you.
Yeah, I guess, but I always felt like when I was on the road, like whoever I was working with that week was like my best friend. I mean, they're the person I spent.
That's
time
how
with,
I felt.
You know.
I remember I wore a suit jacket, so you didn't think I was a slouch.
Well, you know what? You were right, because that Princeton crowd was pretty upscale.
Upscale's right. They come over from New Hope, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Think who they are. You just got back from Scotland. Edinburgh, I believe, is in Scotland.
Edinburgh is how they say Edinburgh.
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 Edinburgh. It goes to 11.
It goes to 11.
Edinburgh. No good.
Not really. They do a weird thing. It comes from drinking, I think.
I hope so.
They drink like crazy.
That's a hard accent, the Scottish accent.
It is really wild. There's some parts of Scotland, people from some parts of Scotland at the festival. I cannot understand. I need subtitles. They're speaking English, and it's completely like it's like listening to Cajun or something.
Cajun, though, like I can get a grip on.
Yeah, I know. Scottish is tough.
Scottish, like, and the only people I've heard do like exceptional like I've done a bad one in my act for a while from a long time ago. And then the only people I've heard do like astounding ones, oddly, would be like a super drunk improv waiter, like after a third show Saturday, and you're like, what? Tony the DJ? The guy that goes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. All of a sudden he's like, drink your beer. And you're like, what?
Have you got a pestle table?
Well, what's that mean?
That's a friend of mine had a wallpaper guy who just didn't have any equipment at all. He'd come in and go, Tim, have you got a pasting table?
A pasting table?
Yeah.
You're good at it.
Like, I don't even know what that is.
That's pretty good.
Oh, there you go.
It's Irish.
That's really good. No, that's
Irish.
A little more Scottish brewing in there.
Yeah, look at that. That's
at
pretty
the
good.
real Hey Matty.
Are you Scots?
No.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
I used
to be a lot better with a couple pints in me too.
Couple. So that contributes to the Scottish.
A couple?
Yeah.
Be honest.
A couple dozen.
Couple dozen pints.
Have you ever been to the Edinburgh Fringe?
I've never done comedy anywhere except United States, Canada.
It is phenomenal. I've been
St. John
for more than the past decade.
Hold on, I'm not done. Hawaii.
That's still America. I don't know if you heard.
Not really.
It was in all the papers.
Not really. I don't know if you've seen those people walking around. They don't look like you and I, man. Talk story.
You'd have a great time over there.
I would love to go, but nobody ever invites me and wants to give me money to go. I don't want to go and like earn. Here's my whole thing. It's the same reason I didn't move to L.A. when everybody said you got to move to L.A. Like I'll move to L.A. when there's a job. that's the impetus. That's the reason I got to go. When Australia
All right, I'm going to
goes,
see if I can get you some bookings over in England and Ireland.
bro, I want to go to England so bad.
Because you're a movie star, man. They put your picture in the ad, people will show up. It's not like here. It's not like L.A. or New York.
Mohr.
People actually really get excited because you've been in like something real. They get excited about that and they come out to see you because they don't get the opportunity very often.
They are very smart audiences, it seems to me, from when I listen to guys doing live stand-up in other places like Edinburgh, and places like that. And in England even. Like Russell Brand comes over here and guys like that. And Jim Jeffries, like they got to come over. They know who the president is. They know who the Secretary of State is. They know like local municipality gags.
Yeah. They are way, way more aware of all things American than we are of anything not American.
Like Russell Brand can go to Ohio and go, hey, nice job at the Cuyahoga River. Yikes. Like you can't go to Scotland and nobody knows fucking David Cameron in England from here. You know what I mean? Like Eddie Iff's not going over there. Oh, actually, Eddie Iff does. And how the fuck did he get on the set list show before I did?
I don't know. When are you going to show up? I invited you Saturday night, but no, you got to go to Santa Barbara. Was it Santa Barbara?
Santa Barbara was around the corner.
Oh, around the corner. Well, I will do it next time you're around.
And Eddie Iff is on the network. He's a friend. I'm just saying, like, what? Do you know Eddie? Oh, you both live in Venice.
I know Eddie very well.
You look like the Italian guy that hits on your sister when you're like, doesn't he? Provenza looks like the guy when you go to Italy.
Right now, I'm in my Cape Fear look.
Counselor, you do got that. You got a little Max Cady look, but Italian Latin lover, like your sister.
I want to stick my thumb in your mouth.
Did he fuck you like this? He bites her fucking ear off. Which Cape Fear do you like better?
You could do a million voices, can't you?
A little bit.
Man, I can't do any of those.
A little bit. You just did Scottish, perfect. Which Cape Fear do you like better? All right, let me.
I actually love the remake. I like the De Niro Cape Fear. It's really
the sound takes me out of it because the music's like.
Oh my god, that scene with the retainer in Juliette Lewis's mouth. Oh my god, what is creepier?
I think we're alone now. But Robert Mitchum had no tattoos in the original.
Yeah.
And he had like that weird hat. All he had on was a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, but the thing about the Robert Mitchum movie is that it always, the period movies like that, it always feels like a period movie. It doesn't feel real to me. It's, when guys are like, hey, scram, you tomatoes.
But see, that's why I like Robert Mitchum, because he didn't act like that.
That's true. But it's pretty good. It's more noirish, the original. It's very good. It's great.
He does do one line. It's funny you just said that. I would love to have this conversation with you because I've had this conversation with friends, like on the waterfront. Is like the smashing together of those two worlds.
Yeah. The Kazan stuff.
Like, hey, fella, Johnny Friendly's not here right now. See, Terry, I had a little money on your kid. And then Brando and Carl Malden are just like
total method stuff.
Water going downhill.
Yeah.
Next guy to throw a bottle's going to get a punch in the nose.
That's a really great point.
They're throwing beer bottles at a priest, and Carl Malden's going to fucking fight him. Like a priest that goes, next guy to throw a beer bottle's going to get a punch in the nose. And then Brando's obviously Brando, and Eva Marie Saint's terrible. I don't like the crickets. They make me nervous. Like he just says it. Like no one ever thought to just say the line.
I know.
Mamet probably was like, this is what I wanted. I mean, had he wrote it.
Yeah, if he had anything to do with it.
And those guys, like, and you're exactly right. Like, it is period, like, say. And when they go to Robert Mitchum in the bar, they go to take him to brace him, like, we're going to brace you. Yeah, following around. And then he goes, hey, I don't mind talking to, but you take out those billy clubs, you better call the riot squad. He just says it so laconic, and you're like, this guy will fucking knock out two cops in one. And there's no tattoos, there's no pipe.
Yeah.
Just him under the boardwalk throwing long jabs.
But the remake is really, it's hyperdrive creepy. It's really creepy. Creepy in a way that the original isn't. But the other thing about period films like that is I immediately get taken out when they're like, let me have a steak and a cup of coffee and a piece of pie. That's 60 cents.
So you can't just go there with the period
I
and just
do,
go.
But I keep popping out of it going, 60 cents? What kind of meat is that? I just love it. It just cracks me up.
He found it in a dumpster out back.
Yeah, what's the deal there? Even back then, 60 cents sounds cheap.
The new Cape Fear, like when he when the hand comes out of the water.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert! When the hand comes out of he's laughing because I'm an idiot, not because he thought it was funny. when the hand comes out of the water and it becomes like almost like Friday the 13th, I'm like, wow, Scorsese, really? Like, you're better than this.
The joint smoking scene, though, that's pretty good.
I think we're alone now.
It's a creepy movie. It's a
You're the
creepy
guy
movie.
that killed my dad's dog.
I'm generally a guy who doesn't like remakes. I'm generally a guy who like the original, even with all the jokes and I've been making about the originals and the period pieces and stuff. I generally don't like remakes, but
Or like
that
Annie
one
Hall.
is really good.
Do you get freaked out by like the prices in Annie Hall, or like do you realize
I
this
don't
one?
think I've seen it in recently enough.
All right,
to...
but I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna go greatest movies of all time, do you get taken out? Like, do you watch Raging Bull and go,
No, I
hey,
think
what's the everybody's smoking cigars at the boxing match? This is crazy.
No, that is an interesting thing, though. It's funny because now you've got. I keep having this thing that I get hooked on when I'm watching movies, which is the cell phones that people are using. Because they changed like over 2 years. It's like a radically different cell phone for like a decade. Every 2 years, it's like a completely different cell phone. And I'm always looking at. I saw a movie once recently that takes place, I think, in the 90s. And it's like the only thing that you could really tell was, period, were the cell phones. And I just couldn't stop looking at the cell phones.
I do that too. But if they do it tongue in cheek, like in Casino when he just hands you that giant brick, I want you to have this. I want you to have this.
The pager, yeah, it's huge.
The big pager, it's the size of a laptop.
Yeah.
Remember car phones?
Yes.
Just for the car?
But now I think like if there was a car just phone, I think that's what I would prefer.
Almost.
Instead of this fucking leash I carry around in my pocket.
I saw a guy.
I've had that thought myself.
I saw a guy on the PCH with a brand new Lamborghini, and he had the old school, like rotary phone on the
Like the one that hangs on
column.
like the kitchen wall.
Yeah, and it was hanging. It had the cord still attached to it, and it was like a brand new Lambo.
I would like that.
Yeah.
I'm not making a joke. Like
No, I know.
Like if there was a car in that, if there was a phone in that car right there, and that was just my car phone, and I could just pick it up and dial without just this shenanigans, I think I would enjoy it instead of typing "call Teresa," calling pizza.
Yeah.
Fucking serious.
You want to go retro. You want to go retro. I wonder if you could even get cell service on those cars anymore? If you got an old car with the car phone in it, could you even get that hooked up anymore?
No way.
Dude, Bensonhurst 513, please. So it takes
Give me
you out.
Mulholland 12.
Mulholland 12. Like you watch Dial M for Murder, and you're like, Dial M. Nobody dials M. How far out are these movies?
I'm much older than you are, so I remember when my phone number in the Bronx was Tulip 2.
Tulip?
Tulip, yeah, T-U.
That's badass.
Yeah.
T-U.
There was Tulip, there was Olinville, there was Sedgwick. That was what.
But certainly you're not an old
man.
man. I don't want the people that have not seen your face. You're a very handsome man, and you're young at heart.
Yeah, I am young at heart. That's
Said
true.
that like Colin Quinn.
I do.
All right, don't butter up Provenza too much. You know, set last show, Nerdist. That's on YouTube. This guy, Chris Hardwick, he's cornering the market on nerds. When he come to my house, I have a Miss Pac-Man machine. It's an original. All right. Maybe you could turn the TV on or something, you know?
So the Setlist show, that goes, but I saw it on television. I didn't see it on youtube.com/Nerdist.
Setlist? No, you haven't seen it on TV in the States.
What did I see on TV in the States with Eddie Ifft and...
You saw The Green Room. That's the show I did on Showtime.
Again, another show where I go, ah!
Yeah, well, that's
Just my wife walking around upstairs.
Really?
I got alarms, so I know where she is at all times. I'm like Eric Roberts and
Star 80.
Yeah. Abrams says she could go to the bathroom.
I guess it's like being in a room with 800 people.
So the Green Room show,
Green Room is
a show I've always wanted to do. Just like everything you do, I go drat, and I yell drat.
It's
appropriate
because it's the 30s. But that's the thing. That's what makes it really challenging to get this stuff done, because when you go and pitch this stuff, it sounds like, a million comics have gone in and said, just want to sit around and be funny with other comics,
Well, how come you're the one that sells it? Because I have pitched these things and I get rejected summarily.
I'll tell you how, actually.
Should I use that properly? I get summarily rejected.
Summarily.
I get summarily down the stream rejected.
I did the show live at the Edinburgh Fringe for 2 years in a row, and then did it live at a couple of other festivals. So by the time I was ready to take it out and pitch it, I had a lot of footage that I could shoot a sizzle reel from. And I anticipated all the questions and obstacles that they would have and addressed every one of them when I cut together the sizzle reels.
It seemed like the one I saw, and Eddie, if that's what I saw with Eddie, and Eddie, again, is my friend.
Eddie was with
it sounds like I'm really
Tommy
piling
Chong.
on. And Rick Shapiro.
And Joe Rogan.
There was a couple people looking at Rick Shapiro like they really weren't sure what was happening.
Well, I didn't realize this when I put that show together, because it wasn't just like random bookings. I put groups of people together that was sort of like for a reason. Like I had to scrap entire shows because one person dropped out, and it just wasn't the right kind of show. I really want to get these layers in there. So I didn't realize that Joe Rogan knew nothing about Rick Shapiro. He had never met him, worked with him, had never heard of him, and that's a big shock for anybody, So that was my bad. I didn't realize that Joe was completely thrown by
like
Rick
he thought
Shapiro.
a guy was Rick Shapiro,
what to
for
make
the
of
listener, is a guy like when he does a character, he goes. It's not like Robin Williams doing like it's Earl like gay preacher voice. This looks like Earl Simes' living room. Like it's not like that stuff that Robin does. It is like you are watching a guy.
Rick is Charles Bukowski doing stand up. That's the way I describe him. I mean, he really is like a hardcore Charles Bukowski kind of guy.
Yeah, but Bukowski was like a drunk. Rick doesn't do anything, does he?
Well, not now. But he has in the past.
Right.
I mean, Rick is just a very particular. But Rick, as a comedian, is one of the most interesting comedians around, I think. Because when you talk about Rick as a comedian, you can't refer to any one performance. There's, very rarely when you listen to Charlie Parker was it a definitive recording. You never knew what you were going to get from night to night. So Rick is the most jazz-like comic in that regard that, like, you have to watch a body of his work to really understand what he's about.
I saw Rick Shapiro once at the Boston Comedy Club, and there's a tenuous history between Rick and I, because I always admired Rick when we used to hang out, and he has a twin brother.
Which I only found out recently.
He's like a bodybuilder-looking guy.
Me.
Exactly Rick Shapiro, but bodybuilder. And Rick Shapiro used to do a character at the Boston Comedy Club called The Irish Bartender, and every story he tells ends in "you're fired." Even if you're a customer, like, oh, you like stories, do you? Here's a story. You're fired. Get out. We're closing up for the night. Get out. And then I put it in my book, in Gasping for Airtime, and little did I know it'd become the bane of my existence, being labeled a thief. Don't ever admit to anything in this life. And that I was so, like, I was getting fired in my mind because I couldn't do anything. And I just completely took the Irish Bartender sketch, wrote it, for Paul Reiser and me. It got picked to go. We did it at dress rehearsal, live dress rehearsal, and through the grace of God or the grace of Satan somehow, just sails through everything I had ever written.
Right.
Just gets cock-blocked by everybody. Like, there's no women in it. There's this isn't that funny. It got cut after dress.
Didn't fly a dress. Yeah.
Like, every best characters I've ever done. And this thing sails through, and then it's one of those things like, You really like when you're that bad as a person, when you're that low, when you're just that like addict behavior, you actually start going, maybe Rick doesn't watch Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean?
So you did it knowingly?
Oh, yeah. And I wrote, it's all in Gasping for Airtime in print. Like I put it down, like my mea culpa. I'm like, and then I resorted to something I never thought I would do. I stole. And the next chapter, the whole chapter is about the Rick Shapiro thing.
Well, I got to tell you,
but to this day,
that didn't stick with me. The book was fantastic, so that particular story about you didn't stick with me.
Oh, well, that's what Twitter's for. People won't let you up. People never. I thought, like, well, this will be good. Like, it's cathartic.
Well,
and
have you spoken to Rick since then?
No, and I've heard Rick on podcasts go like, yeah, he wrote in his book, he never fucking apologized to me. Like, well, what the fuck is your phone number, Rick? You know, you're not like payphone. On Waverly Place, like he's not exact to me or to you, like he's not exactly a guy you reach out and just ring up.
That's true.
And I kind of thought the book was like the whole, like, you know what? I did something so disgusting and so despicable that breaks the code of all codes.
Hey, let's talk about that for a second. How did you rationalize that at the time?
I'm going to lose my job
if I don't do this.
Yes, and the rationalization being a full. At the time now, like maybe bipolar, but certainly mania all the time, and complete alcoholic suffering from panic disorder and maybe other mental illnesses.
Yeah,
that have also been well
That
documented.
puts morality in a relativistic place.
And it's just, people go, that must be a dog-eat-dog place to work. And I never had that. No one ever, backbit me at Saturday Night Live. It was me biting myself and getting self-sabotage. That was my 2 years of getting in my own way. Because Jim Downey would go, you got to go to the writers' rooms and do your impressions. Let them know what you can do. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking door-to-door to do Keitel to Rob Schneider. That's humiliating. And it is humiliating. But in hindsight, it's exactly look, Rob, if you could do me a favor, put me in a sketch. I'm shot in the gut. I'm a good kid. That's what I should have done.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So it was one of those things I have not been on television in 8 weeks. There's no reason for me to be here. I'll just do this. This will be like the little Brit. First of all, no one's going to, it's never going to get on because the last 14 things I wrote never got out of read through.
Right.
And you walk into Lauren's office right there on the corkboard, right after the third sketch before Weekend Update. Irish bartender. And you're like, eek. And it's a problem. And it's just one. I'm glad you asked because it's one of those things that you just go. You start really rabbit holing rationalizations of you know what? He probably doesn't even watch SNL. And like you said, he never does the same set twice.
Right.
It was an aside.
Yeah. Right.
We all know a bartender like that. Everybody knows that cat. Come on, you didn't make up the Irish bar. It's in Bugs Bunny. And you just totally rationalize it. And he sued the show.
Oh, did
and
he?
they took it out of all the repeats.
I did
and
not know
Lauren
that.
wanted to meet me, and him and Ken Among. You're supposed to do most of the talking in this, but him and Ken Among. And again, this is all in the book. It's not revelatory. Maybe you should buy the book. Maybe you should go to Amazon.com.
I will buy it summarily.
Summarily?
Yeah.
Sounds like a name of a kid that plays for LSU. Summarily Johnson with the curry. Ken Among and Lauren Michaels brought me in a room. They go, Lauren and Ken Among went to see you. And I'm like, they're going to give me Weekend Update. Some bullshit I'm full of myself idea. And they showed me the VHS tape of Rick doing that bit from the night I saw him doing the bit. And Lauren goes, do you know this man? And I go, no. And Lauren goes, okay. That was it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great book. Gasping for airtime. It's a great book. I always tell young comics when they ask me what they should read or whatever, it's one of the things I always tell them to read. I think it's the most realistic in terms of a person's experience in the institution of show business.
I thought telling the truth would set me free.
Yeah,
and instead I got labeled.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Well, you should have Rick on this podcast.
I would love to have Rick on the podcast.
I will set
and you
that
know what
up
I
for
wrote
you.
in the book? And if I ever do see Rick Shapiro again, the first thing I'll do is I'll look him square in his eye and I'll say, I'm sorry, and what I did was disgusting.
I will.
But he's super mad about it. I guess I would be mad too if I was not on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Now I'm
well,
at
it
the
is.
other end.
It's also. I mean, a lot of time's gone by, but it also hurts more when you're in the position that Rick was in back then, because you know how it is. It's like even material or ideas that a lot of people are doing. It's who gets to plant that flag first.
Yeah.
And so you just have no recourse when you're dealing with Saturday Night Live. What are you going to do? You just just lost it.
He sued and
so it's
won.
doubly painful.
It got taken out of all the repeats.
That's amazing.
And that was a weird show for me too because why
didn't they just pay him off?
Because then what? Then my stolen sketch reruns in perpetuity. I like it better this way because it didn't deserve to see the light of day. It's like when you buy a car with dirty money that you got from the that car.
Are there other regrets that you have like this?
No,
this is it.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And people that will hit me up on Twitter and say things like that. You can't. It doesn't really happen anymore. But it's one of those things where you want to go. If you could just come see me live, you would realize how far off base this all is. Why? What have you heard? Provenza's like, are you sure? All right, look, I buried a hooker in Yermo with my wife. It was a man hooker. We went to Yermo, and we buried him.
Well, no, because you said you were drinking a lot, and you were in that place of self-sabotage and all of that. And, I'm just curious if other things happen like that.
I don't. Not that I recall, and not that's been brought up. And in this
Well, then you dodged
podcast,
a bunch of bullets.
pretty much everyone in my past has been on this podcast, and we've really. I mean, shit. Mark Maron was here, and I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go 2 rounds with Mark Maron, he digs up every goddamn scrap from the fucking table.
I love how he has to start every podcast with, "Are we okay? Did I do anything rude?"
He was with me. Matty Boy was with me, and we left. And I go, I felt like I was on the defensive the whole time. Matty Boy goes, "That was fucking bullshit." I'm like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
you were angry." But then when I listened to it, I felt really good because it just the truth sets you free, and it was okay. He wanted negative things to be true about me that weren't true.
Yeah, well.
What regrets do you have, Paul Provenza, in your life?
I don't have any regrets about
Not in comedy, in your
anything
life.
in my life.
Yeah. Family members?
Not many.
Come
not
on.
Many. I mean, I do regret not staying
Are we good?
closer with my family.
Are we good?
We're fine. Yeah. Although, Rick Shapiro stole that bit from me, so by associative property.
See, I didn't know that, so I'm off the hook.
No, I'm
See how I'm
teasing
rationalizing
that.
it again?
Rick knows I'm joking.
No, I would love to have Rick Shapiro on the podcast, and I want to get back to your regrets. But what you said quickly, because I don't want to lose the train of thought, about Rick Shapiro's sets being entirely unique. I saw him at the Boston Comedy Club once. He walked on stage, put the mic in the mic stand, and said, "I can't start my show without my puppies." And he went like, "Pebbles," and he just like 8 names that you would never think of in a writer's room with 12 guys. Like... Pebbles, earlobe, baby, like real fucking Upper East Side Jewish lady dog names. And he goes, come to mommy. And he's like patting his face. And then he acted like the dogs were jumping on him and kissing him, took a knee. And he goes, "Oh, mommy." And he goes, and he just named this dog. And then he like fell backwards on the stage with the mic, like, and he did that shit. It was like Kaufman-esque. He did it for like 8 minutes.
He really
and
is...
got up and went, "Well, what else do you guys want to talk about?"
He really is unpredictable. I love that. In a comic.
Great. Rick Shapiro, I would love for you to do this podcast. How's that?
I'll set that up for you right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why don't you wish you were... Wait, why aren't you closer to your family?
Because of the stuff I've been doing and the international stuff I've been doing has taken me out of the country for long stretches of time.
So literally continental divide, not like apathy. I'm not going to call my dad because I don't feel like it.
Not at all. And I owe my extended family, my Italian extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, we were all really close when I was a kid. And they were really crucially important to me. They were my immediate home life. My mom, my dad, my sister, just the 4 of us, was kind of crazy, a little psychotic. It was it was a bit of the kind of household that you'd end up having a drug addiction for, as a result of, or
how did you dodge that? How did you not get into drugs?
Here's the reason. The reason is because the rest of my extended family was always there with love and affection and support and all those things that a kid needs to not be so feeling like they should just shoot heroin. They filled in all the gaps that sort of made up for the kind of craziness that went on in my immediate household.
Yeah.
And I just will never be able to thank them for that. But I do regret not having stayed closer with them.
You never really got caught up in, like, you were never a big boozer?
Did. Nope.
Like, didn't you want to know... Didn't you just want to part?
I'll tell you what.
Trying to have fun?
You know what? I smoked pot for the first time at the age of 38.
Last year.
I wish.
Boom! Compliment the guest.
What do you need? A few bucks? I went through the 80s. The offered where people would offer to pay me in cocaine after a week's gig.
Really?
Oh
Where?
My God!
Tips?
Like dozens of places. It was really common.
Were you just a square or just?
It wasn't really quite. No, it wasn't that at all. I mean, I didn't have any problem with anybody else doing anything. I wasn't a square. It was actually because I was a control freak. Because I'd been doing stand up professionally since 17. And, around alcohol all the time, working, and it was very clear to me that, and I'm just by nature not that big a drinker. It never really, just didn't really do much for me. So it was easy. But I never wanted to do anything that was going to take my eye off the ball. And it wasn't until, like I said, about the age of 38 that I realized that control freak thing that had steadied me so well for so long was actually part of what was my problem when I hit a wall creatively, emotionally, personally, just in life in general, that I needed to be less precious about control and, in fact, needed to get out of my own way. and needed to not always have all the answers and not be 100% prepared, because it's the thing about, I wanted to have epiphanies. I wanted to have epiphanies in my own work. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And it's really hard when you know exactly what you're doing and you've plotted everything out. There are no real epiphanies. It's you just, then the job is just making it go the way you want it to go. And
as Barry Katz would say, there's no holy shit moments.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
you plotted it all out, and every night it goes. It's like a greyhound running in a circle. Like, this is the track.
Yeah.
Then I circle back. I go back to the thing.
Yeah, and I'm not only talking about material or performances. I'm talking about just sort of in general. Like, when am I going to surprise myself? When am I going to feel? And I was feeling more and more as I got towards, middle aged. By late 30s, I was feeling like I could see, if there was a glass wall, I could see a more interesting artist on the other side of it, but I just couldn't get to it. And
how do you go about getting pot when you go, you know what? I'm going to smoke pot to expand my mind. You call Lucian Hold from comic strip, who looks like Robert Goulet after a stroke?
Well, actually, you could just randomly cold call anybody in my neighborhood.
That's true.
So,
and what year is this, 38? 80s?
30? No, it wasn't that long.
Huh? Say what now?
Well, I'm 56 now, so what was that?
God, you look fucking great. Look at this guy with your olive oil voice and your guinea charm. You really do look fucking great, Provenza.
So many politicians in your pocket like loose change.
Love it. What year was it? I can't do math. Help me.
I can't. 57.
Did you call Mark Cohen?
38, 80s, 90s.
So you call you just go, whether William Cornell, Mark Cohen,
Well, I tell you
William
what, the first time I ever did any sort of drug at all was mushrooms with my writing staff on Comics Only. Remember I had a show on Comedy Central in the 80s? That's right, you were on it. That's right. Oh, you know what? I just digitized those, and I have a clip of you, and I'm going to put that online.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This will not go well. Because I do an Indian bartender in that.
It's
pretty weird. And then I do a big black guy.
You do a lot of material that harkens to Dave Attell in this one.
I do 20 minutes of Mike Ivy's act.
Do you do a Mike Ivy impression?
I don't. But
oh my!
You want to talk about a guy that had weed at the ready? That motherfucker had one behind his ear playing softball in the Central Park League. Hey man,
well, see, that's the thing is that I hung out with everybody, but I didn't do any of that stuff. And I went through the '80s with all the drugs around. I mean, and the drugs in the '80s it was crazy. It was retarded. Seriously, like no bullshit. Club owners would offer to pay in cocaine, and I would have to say, I don't think my landlord takes cocaine.
Look, I was all for drugs, and I gave it a good crack. But to accept coke as payment, you really are a fucking piece of luggage.
I would say that it was common enough that the club owner was like, how they go cash or check?
Yeah.
It was cash, check, or you just want cocaine. I think, but these are the John Fox 80s touring days.
Dead.
Well, half and half would be good.
Give me half or thirds.
There it is, yeah.
Check, cash, coke.
Mm-hmm. But I decided that when I hit this sort of this place of, when's something new going to happen for me? When am I going to break through whatever it is that I feel like, I'm wearing an ill-fitting suit of clothes that, and I was really exploring art and artistry. I was exploring a lot of that and, in a lot of different areas. And I just decided that it's my controlling aspect that's actually, a problem for me. Interestingly, where that broke, and I've never looked back, it was in doing The Aristocrats, because I had no idea what that movie was when I was making it.
So mushrooms didn't even help.
No, mushrooms had nothing to do with that. That was a one-off experience with Tishon Shannon and John Ross, and Tishon's now wife, then girlfriend, Kitty. We were in John Ross's apartment in Venice, which is about half the size of this garage.
By the way, Venice, great place to do mushrooms.
Yeah. Well,
little alley streets, palm trees, the beach.
At one point, John goes, let's go to the beach. This would be great. Let's go to the beach. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not done in here. There's so much stuff in here. I was like a cartoon, like the Stone Gin guy, with the melted face. It was
T-shirt Shannon just dropping racial bombs.
And then
those are the four of you.
Yeah.
But you said your staff. That's just two dudes.
Well, that was the staff is only 4 people. So it was 2 out of 4.
If you like control, Paul Provenza, take control of your small business. You have a big business now. It's the Paul Provenza business. And, of course, as comics, we like to get involved in monkey business.
Jay Mohr, king of the segues.
If you're going to run a business, traditional office setting, now I feel like I'm on mushrooms and I can't see straight. Do all your mailing and shipping right from your own computer and printer with Stamps.com. You could probably benefit from this with all the mailings you do when you got like festivals.
Nothing.
You don't do
happens
like a lot of
electronic.
invites?
I haven't used a stamp in 5 years.
Oh, well, then this is perfect. Not for you. It's perfect for me because I'm constantly just mailing out headshots to dry cleaners. So instead of figuring out the postage, writing like to Kang, best wishes, or two of Mendel's Holloway cleaners, best wishes, I just use Stamps.com. It's all the services of the U.S. Postal Service. In all seriousness, it's a great sponsor of the podcast, and it is a great thing. Stamps.com makes everything easy. You never have to go to the post office again. They send you a digital scale. So if you were paid in cocaine, you could weigh it on the digital scale from Stamps. You wouldn't go like, where's my scale? You would have it there next to your computer. Any letter, any package, any class of mail, Stamps.com will hook you up. Digital scale automatically calculates exact postage. Stamps.com will help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. No need to lease an expensive postage meter. Remember when you go to your manager's office and they had that postage meter where you would just swipe your letter through there? And
Your manager really liked you.
Oh, you didn't let you use it?
No, let me use it.
You sent out all your headshots using my postage meter, man? You know how much that thing costs per month? Nothing now, because we don't use it anymore, cats. Postage meters are for squares. Stamps.com is where it's at. Use my last name, Mohr, M-O-H-R, for the special offer. No risk trial. $110 bonus offer. That includes the digital scale up to $55 free postage. That's a lot of letters, man.
That's a lot
That's a lot of invites to the set list show. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in my last name, M-O-H-R. Stamps.com. Enter more. And let me remind you, if you don't use these products, they kind of go away. And we're left holding the bag. Appreciate you guys helping us out with the sponsors. Going to Stamps.com, typing in my last name, Mohr. But again, nothing possibly beats word of mouth when it comes to anything. Set list show. I can let about 250,000 people know right now. I love this show.
It's really fun.
I'm excited about it. You invited me to go Saturday. I'm fired up about it. I will do it anytime you'll have me.
You'll be great at it.
Green room.
Yeah.
Because I finally learned to like a musician has to know when to stop fucking banging on the strings and just relax and let like Ron Wood and Keith Richards take turns.
Yeah.
I was always the guy. I was an animal. And now I guess being 43 with kids, you go, oh, there's a lot of room in these spaces to just kind of operate, let guys hang themselves, let guys have fun, have a good time, be that sniper.
Wait for that open window, and then you just gently lob it in.
Yeah, and you're doing two shows that specialize in that.
Kind of, yeah.
I want to flex.
Well, you will love Setlist. I mean, Green Room is conversational, and that really is. You don't really have to do anything. You just have to show up, really. And it's one of the things I worked really hard at was creating an environment where things just kind of happened, and so that was always really fun. We're not in production on that right now, and I'm looking to set it up somewhere else so that we can get back in production on it. Because the list,
Mohr is attached.
The list of comics that want to do it now is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Name two.
Robin Williams, Billy Connolly.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I do want to get
Robin
that up
gets
again.
A bad rap, doesn't he?
Robin is great. I don't care what anybody says. Robin's great.
But
by the way,
totally
there's an
gets a bad
episode
rap,
of him.
Right?
He does get a bad rap, and the problem is Robin's an institution now. You got a whole generation that came up that fell in love with Robin from Mrs. Doubtfire, and I don't think they really understand what came before the family-friendly Robin Williams movies. But he did a webisode on the Nerdist channel of Set List, and it got picked up by Huffington Post, and I think the headline was something like, "This will remind you just what a genius Robin Williams is," because he really is absolutely brilliant, and he's
kind.
So kind, so
what?
generous.
That's another guy.
So warm, and when you're in a room with Robin and 100 other people, he's not the star. He is. There's no difference from between him and anybody else. He does not do the star trip ever.
No,
he is just a great guy.
My wife went on vacation with Robin. I think he was married to Marcia at the time when my wife was going out with Bobcat. They all went to like an island together because Bobcat and Robin were like best friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just like the sweetest man in the
He
world.
is. He's very gentle. He's really generous and kind and warm.
And then, her and Bobcat obviously split up. That's why I'm married to her. Otherwise, it'd be sort of against the law.
Otherwise, you'd be on that island.
And then, hey, sometimes more than that. Wait, what? And then, so then we run into Robin Williams at the Emmys. And, he's obvious, Bob won Robin in the divorce. Do you know what I mean? Because you got to pick a side.
Yeah.
There is no, I'm going to be friends with both of you. That shit goes out the window. And if you think that can happen, it can't. You got to choose a side. Maybe in 4 or 5 years, you circle back around. You bring somebody a casserole or something. But we see Robin, and he's with somebody, and he sees us, and he just stops, and he comes right towards me. I'm now engaged to one of his best friends.
Exes.
Yeah, who Bob dumps her, and then all of a sudden now we're together. And he stops, he beelines for him, and he goes, "Whoa, you're a very lucky man. She's the best, And he just effusive praise, and then he's gone. But he didn't have to do it. I mean, he was 40 feet and just caught us out of the corner of the eye. And I was going to say, Rick Overton was the guy I mentioned earlier. Robin Williams, another guy start to finish. You'll never hear a story about Robin being a dick. Even coked out of his fucking face.
Yeah, it's true.
Back in the day.
He's just a really, really good guy. And, when I say generous, I don't only mean with his money.
That's all I really care about.
I know that he
Can you
gives.
give me money?
I know that he's very philanthropic, but I mean he's just generous of spirit. He is the most supportive comic to other comics. He's just amazing. He's a really good guy.
Anytime you play an improv, they got all those old photos like John Lennon standing in front of the old improv, Bud's first.
Yeah.
And then there's always, there's a couple photos of people on stage, and then there's always that in every improv in the country. The listeners can check this out. There's always that photo someplace of Robin Williams on stage with Jonathan Winters, and they're both holding candles that they picked up off the tables.
Yeah, and Robin's in suspenders.
Yeah, and they both have such joy on their faces.
Yeah.
And they could have been saying the stupidest shit in the world, but you're but you know what? They thought of it right then.
Yeah.
How many jokes did you write today?
Well, that's what Set List is all about.
Yeah.
It's all about just doing it right then and there. It's like you get to watch a comedian, any given comedian's process. We just throw up a set list item, and I explain to the audience what a set list is for a comedian. That it's just a couple of reminders, or one phrase could be 20 minutes of material, or it could just be a line you want to remember.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it means. Only the comic knows what it means. So the comics have free reign to do whatever it inspires in
And
them.
the comic doesn't know what's coming up on the screen.
No clue.
And they
it's
just got to add lib.
completely.
This is heavenly.
Real.
This is
It's
exactly
really fun.
This is like guys want to play in the NFL. I just want to play in the whole Provenza League. But it's youtube.com/Nerdist. But why this seems absurd this isn't on television.
Well, we did a series for the UK. We did a series for Sky Atlantic in England, and it will start airing in December. It already aired in Australia through a weird sequence.
All right, but I don't
events.
live there, Paul.
Well, but we're trying to get a broadcaster in the States to pick it up. And
how hard could it be to sell this show with you?
Jay,
no, I'm being serious.
Jay, seriously, have you tried to sell a television show? I know you have.
Okay.
Have you ever encountered a more fucked up, bizarre business than trying to sell anything to television?
No.
Could you
But
ever
it's so-
explain to somebody who doesn't know what that's like
I can.
how all the most legitimate, rational questions are irrelevant?
I explain it on this podcast early and often.
Okay.
You got people that have a fucking desk because they were assistants so long they needed a place to put that
That's
person.
right. They had to raise the
And that
give them a
person's
raise.
internship was up, and they were going to go back to UCLA or Cal Northridge, and they go, associate producer in charge of development and meals.
Listen,
And then that person's in on the meeting, and that person goes, do they have to be black?
Yeah, so always.
And then everyone looks like, yeah, do they have to be black?
Can the dog talk?
Yeah, and if you're selling a show, you go, we were just talking about that on the way over. What if the dog talks?
Well, I mean, even with the green room, right, which is it's pretty straightforward, right? I had the opportunity to do an episode with, possibly Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner and a couple of other
Can I guess what the note
classics,
was?
right? Go ahead.
Can we just skew younger?
Yeah, it's too many old guys.
Yeah.
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 And it's just like, oh, okay.
I pitched a show. KP Anderson, dear friend, he's executive producer of The Soup. He wrote a great show called Never the Bride, and I think he had Jamie Presley, and it's a wedding planner because on this lady's wedding day, her husband was going to surprise her by parachuting into the wedding, and his parachute didn't open and he died. That's the opening scene. Perfect credits.
Oh, that's good.
Now this woman spends her whole life making everyone else's weddings perfect because she's a complete commit.
Okay.
Like, this is so fucking hand in glove. We pitch it to like CBS, all the usual suspects, right? Then we go to Lifetime. Like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll let Way Out Cable take a sniff. We'll do them a favor. And at Lifetime, we were told, seems a little too Lifetime for us.
Get out of here.
That was the actual.
I'm going to be quoting you forever. Please,
that was the actual.
God, tell me that's the truth.
Swear to God, on my son's eyes. I got two sons. That's
God,
four
that
eyes,
is
all
so
blue.
Funny.
It's a little too Lifetime for us. It's a woman whose husband parachuted in and died. You just see a guy go flop. You don't see like a grisly death.
It's the guy at Lifetime who says it's a little too Lifetime.
All women
for
at
us.
Lifetime. A
Yeah,
little too Lifetime for
that's
us.
true.
And we had a star in place that had signed, like Jamie Presley was like ready to go. I think it was Jamie Presley. Oh, it might have been Jenny McCarthy. Whatever agency I was at, they had a girl locked loaded because everybody's dealed in. A little too Lifetime for us.
Well, you know the Alan Bursky story, right?
No.
Well, Alan Bursky was a comedian. He was the youngest comedian at the time to ever have done The Tonight Show. I think he did it when he was 18 or 17.
He opened for me at Harrah's.
Quite possibly.
A couple of years ago.
Okay.
No.
He he was Freddie Prinze's best friend. Right?
He's insufferable.
And Alan,
Let's keep it positive. He's insufferably funny to the audience.
The greatest footnote about Alan is that when all of Freddie Prinze's doctors took his guns away, Alan said, "Well, you're living alone in the house there in the woods. You take my gun," and that's the gun that Freddie ended up killing himself with. Anyhow,
is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, then I don't feel so bad.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Alan, his career basically was hanging with Freddie Prinze. I mean, like when Freddie Prinze guest hosted on Mike Douglas, Alan Bursky was on twice that week.
Yeah.
It was always on the heels of Freddie Prinze. So when Freddie Prinze died, Alan's career just completely disappeared, and he ultimately went on to become an agent. So he's sitting in his office somewhere, I don't know, APA, William Morris, one of those, ICM. He's sitting there, the junior agent, and a call comes through on his desk. A breakdown comes through for the Freddie Prinze story on ABC. They're doing a TV movie about Freddie Prinze, and he's reading down the thing, and some of the characters, Alan Bursky is a character, so he goes, "Oh my God, this is my chance." So he submits himself under a different agent's name. He submits Alan Bursky for the role of Alan Bursky, and he doesn't get it because they told him he wasn't right for the part. Wow. And Mike Binder ended up doing it.
Mike Binder seems perfect. I'm not even kidding. Like, Mike Binder as Alan Bursky is perfect.
Physically, yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you were ever told pitching a show? Because I got another one in the hopper. But I don't want... You know what? Let me do mine first because I don't want to be... Comedians do this all the time. It's like, what do you think is the best Beatles album? And I'm really just waiting you out so I can correct you.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I have on more than one occasion, I have heard, it's too intelligent to show. Which I know that's not weird, and it probably is. It's anticlimactic.
It is weird.
But that just is sort of disturbing.
Like The Wire was about as intelligent. I know it was about crack dealing and Baltimore ghettos and stuff, but you can't write more intelligently.
It's definitely changed. There's no question the TV landscape has changed immensely. There's so much good stuff on television. When people talk about how much garbage there is on television, I'm like, look at how much great
a lot of good
stuff there is. I mean, so much shit that I'm waiting to get cancer just so I could watch some box sets.
The infomercial. I didn't know there was that many vacuum companies. The Dyson Ball, the Shark. This is a cutthroat vacuum business we're in now, Paul Provenza. We're in the age of the vacuum, and it's like 4 hours.
I can't even sell an infomercial to TV.
Man, let me tell you about infomercials, all right? I tried to sell a vacuum named Alan Bursky, and Mike Binder rejected it.
It's a Bursky. It sucks.
I've gotten too intelligent. When we were doing Last Comic Standing, we were picking the comics. You got to pick the best 10 to go into the house. So I go, all right, I got a list of 10. And the guest judges got their list of 10. And the executive producers have their list of 10. And they all go into a pile. And we all sort of agreed, this before any people thought there was any shenanigans, which there never was, because they filmed the fucking coin toss after quiz show. You cannot possibly fucking rig any. And first of all, you can't rig, just to address people right now what they're thinking. Like, I heard it was fucking fixed, because you can't fix who gets into the house. That's an audition. Once they're in the house, that's the competition.
Right.
But when you're picking people to be in the house for Last Comic Standing, you can't fix that. You're casting.
No, but you can influence it a great deal.
Of course you can influence that, and which leads me perfectly, Paul Provenza, to what I was going to say. We had 8 men, 2 women, and NBC, I won't say names, got 3 women. I'm like, well, there weren't 3 funny women. And these 8 guys were like, you gotta have 3 women. And we're missing a black. That was the note. And we all kind of looked at each other like, holy moly, they're not kidding. You have to have 30% women. And they told us the percentages of women that watch TV is half. And especially reality TV, it skews high into the 60%. And if you only have 2 women, no one's going to watch it. And we were under the impression if you have the funniest comics, we kind of thought we were doing the noble thing, the funniest people.
Right, the people who most deserved it.
A man and put in a woman, then we had to